it healthy to have some level of hypervigilance? And also, is it healthy to have some level of anger? And can they both benefit your life?
Yeah, I definitely think that there should be some level of hypervigilance. I mean, you got to be safe, right? And too many people are far too comfortable. And you see that as a cop. You see that, you know, as a criminal. Like when I was a kid, I was breaking the law all the time. I was doing some crazy shit. I was in and out of the back of cop cars multiple times. And so you start thinking in a way like how to take advantage of people and when they're at their weakest and when they're not paying attention. And people don't realize that they're being watched like that. They're being evaluated. It's like, they're not even looking over their shoulder at all. The minute they get in their car and they're just focused on their phone and they're leaving their door open, you could fucking take whatever you want from them. So there's definitely a level to it. But I think, you know, especially in the police department, police officers, we normalize it so much to pretend like it's saving their lives that we don't realize that we're causing a lot of trauma, you know. And so it's too far for me now. The hypervigilance, I've taken it way too far. But you gotta find, like anything, you gotta find a balance, man. And you can't just keep taking it over and over and over to the top because you're gonna fucking lose your mind.
Yeah.
And at some point you're nuts.
Yeah. And that's the same thing where it's like, you know, I'm just went from this ball of hypervigilant fucking animal, always just looking for prey and just being a nuts. And like, I dare you to fucking say something to me. I dare you to, and if you're bigger than me, stronger than me, you get a gun, I'll get a fucking bazooka. Like whatever it is, like I'm gonna fucking destroy something. Even if I just, you know, I'm gonna fucking cut your leg off. I don't know, something to like trying to figure out. Cause in the beginning, I felt like I have to get rid of all this. Like I have to just be this like comfortable and fucking yay and look at the butterflies and never get upset, right? And it's like that'll get me fucking killed too. So I mean, I really feel like every day I do my best to not look like a mock, right? Like I make sure I work out, I make sure I'm vigilant and like doing things to make sure that my personal safety, that no one's ever evaluating me like there's an easy target, you know? But I also try to instill that into, you know, my fiance and my friends and stuff. And because sometimes, like, I remember the other day, I forget what the fuck I was doing. And I just, this guy, I'm leaving a parking lot and this guy's smoking a cigarette. Like he could have been on the sidewalk next to the car. He's standing where the cars come and go. And I pull up and I'm at his back and he turns around and goes like, oh, you know, sorry. And I'm like, what fucking planet are you on that you didn't know a goddamn car was coming by, that you were just that like, oh my God, wow, nature's fucking cool. Yeah. Hey man, nowhere nature's cool on a fucking trail in the woods. Yeah. You know? That's where you do that kind of shit.
Yeah.
So.
Well, dude, yesterday. So I get into Texas. I pull up to get something to eat and I back into the spot. And this dude's he's walking towards my car with his hand in his pocket. And I look at him, I see motherfucker, because he gives me that look like he's coming, he's going to try to talk to me. But he's got his hand in his pocket, and he won't take his hand out of his pocket. So I'm thinking he's about to pull a gun and try to carjack me. So I was like, okay, cool. So I put it in drive, and I was like, the minute I see that gun come out of his sweatshirt pocket, I'm punching it, and I'm going to run him over. And so I put it in drive, and then I'm like waiting, and he's walking, and then he pulls out a phone. And then he's like, hey, trying to nod at me. And I looked at him, I was like, nah.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, okay. And then walks away. But it's like, people are fucking looking for you. And then he goes, as soon as he leaves from me, he goes to this female. And he's standing at her car for like 30 seconds before she even knows he's there. And then she rolls her window down to talk to this guy. I'm like, what kind of character you think you're about to converse with? Right. That is just going to walk up to you in a fucking parking lot. He looks like he's up to fucking no good, you know? So, yeah, there's definitely a balance, and most people are on the low side of that balance.
A thing about Texas that I've realized, too, is like in LA, people will get in your fucking space with no problem, right? Where it's just like, hey, dude, back the fuck up because I don't know what's going on. And especially, like, I don't look that inviting that I'm just going to go in someone's space. Some old lady like, hey, just wondering if you have the time, right? Like, I'm going to get your attention first to, you know, with the doe eyes, show you that I'm not a threat and like, hey, I'm just wondering, right? Because I don't want to make you feel like that. And what I've realized in Texas, especially, and someone taught me this too, is that like like, and I still do it. Like I ring the doorbell and I'm like looking in the thing, like to see if anyone's home, making sure you come to the door. I'm not trying to be creepy about it. I'm just trying to like, did the doorbell work? I don't know what's going on. And in Texas is a big ring the doorbell and step back so that you can be seen when someone looks out and see that there's not a threat and stuff like that. And it's the same thing with boundaries where it's like, excuse me, sir. And you know, it's boundaries kept, whether that's because of the COVID shit or not, I don't really know, but I've definitely noticed out here where people, and I think in a place where there's open carry and stuff like that, people are very much more not like, hey, go fuck yourself and, you know, I'm going to get out of the car. Like, well, okay, but, you know, everybody's packing, you know? So.
Which is a way, it's crazy that we think that people owning guns outright is going to cause chaos.
Right.
And it's like, bullshit. It's the exact opposite. Like, you're about to go cuss this dude out and tell because you don't like the way he's driving. But in Texas, are you sure you want to do that? Because you probably have a pistol pointed at you through the door, and you think you're gonna get out of the car and go. So you don't do it.
Yeah.
So it's like, come on, man. It forces people to use their fucking brains and to think a little bit and to stop just acting out of emotion. So I love. That's why I can't wait to live in Texas.
You just started looking at houses over there too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're in Jersey right now.
Yeah.
And what's the vibe over there right now?
It's weird, dude. Jersey's a weird place.
Yeah.
That like, I don't know. It's not for me. Jersey's not. For me.
Oh, you guys ended up there because of the in-laws.
Yeah. So we're just visiting. We'll be out there soon, but it's not for me. It's and I don't want to talk shit about people from Jersey. Like if that's your state and you love it,
fuck Jersey.
By all means, man, you could have it. But it's like you know fuck man, they'll run you off the road. There's no sidewalks, so you're like constantly going into fucking somebody's lane to not hit somebody on the side of the road. The roads are fucking weird and come out of nowhere. It's just a strange place.
See, my hate for like Jersey and New York and shit is just like a big brother kind of thing, you know? Because it's like
a Boston thing.
Yeah, because it's like as Boston, we're not allowed to like any of those other fucking surrounding areas, but Rhode Island sometimes gets a pass, but you know, it's that love-hate thing where it's like I don't hate them like I want them to die. It's just like fuck you because my city's better than yours. You know. Let's see. So we talked a little bit about, and you talk about. All right, let's do these and then we're gonna fucking jump into the book. So we talked a little bit about getting pissed and why going to that level of extreme violence is always the go-to, and how do we not do that?
That's something I work on now, and my wife helps me with that a lot because she's always talking about, and you talked about it earlier with perspective, right? It's like changing your perspective and changing your beliefs on why people do what they do. I think the military like sets us up for failure in a way because it is so structured, and it's like, before I cuss you out, I got to look at your chest. I got to see what rank you are, because the last thing I want to do is go fly off the fucking handle on a sergeant major. And then I got to assess whether our surroundings as to where it's like, is this an environment where we're going to be about to fight, or do I got to like put you at parade rest? Are you going to put me at parade rest? So it's so structured in that we know how to treat each other based on our rank, and you're wearing how to treat me on your chest every day. You know, sorry for all the privates out there, but you see that private, you're like, hey, fucking parade rest, you motherfucker.
Guys like me that just hid behind the sham shield.
You're like, nah. But then you get out, and all of a sudden, you know, people are just disrespectful in really blatant ways, and so it's hard to deal with. But my wife helps me with it just by trying to change my perspective. Like, hey, that person cut you off. Maybe it wasn't because they fucking hate you and they disrespect you as a human being and what you've done for the country and, you know, what you feel like you've given, right? Because we all have that sense of we gave something. Mm-hmm. And, you know, some people take it way too fucking far and they think somebody owes them something. But for a lot of us, what we feel like we're owed is just a little bit of space. That's it. You know, that's to me what most vets deserve is just a little bit of space. Mm-hmm. Give me some fucking room to breathe, and I'll be good with that. So my wife kind of helps me change my perspective. Like, okay, maybe that guy was in a hurry. Maybe something happened. And it starts to take my mind off of making it so personal all the time. And it's a struggle, you know, for sure. It's like you can't just change your thought processes.
Yeah.
But you could start to identify when you're getting pissed and start talking yourself off that fucking ledge and try to use some more logic, you know.
I talked to my buddy Sully about this the other day because, you know, again, I had one of these situations and I got down on myself and was just like, you know, I'm full of shit and like I'm just always going to be this fucking lunatic and shit. And he's like, bro, you think about what you did, right? The things that you've done. And it's like you said, military is so structured and I know what's happening and I know things. I have a layout, right? And then prison is the same thing. 7 years I spent in that motherfucker where it's like, and it's the same thing where there's a rank, like, you know, who's about what and who isn't, you know? And then same thing with the COs, like, you know, ones that'll bust your fucking head open and you know, ones that, you know, maybe will leave a cigarette in the fucking hallway, you know? So that's the thing. And that's what happens is you get out and you go like, you motherfucker, you really want to fucking test me right now? You want to cut me off? You want to slam your brakes? I'm following you home and I'm going to fucking beat you to death. But that was the thing, was perspective for me was with two things of like, or it's like this. I'm like, Sean, come by. Let's, you know, be here at 6 and we'll take off. And you're like, yeah, cool. I get all fucking dolled up, get all, you know, my nicest t-shirt on. I get fucking the beard all lined up. It's fucking 6:10. I'm texting. I'm like, where the fuck is this kid? 6:20 rolls around. I'm sweating right now because I'm like, I'm going to fucking beat this motherfucker up. Like, we're not even friends anymore. I already unfriended you on Facebook. Fuck this kid. You piece of shit. You fucking blew me off. You probably fucking some broad and you didn't even call me, right? Turns out later that day you call me and you're like, dude, I got into a fucking, you know, I'm at the hospital. Sorry, my chick, whatever it was, blah, blah, blah. And there's a real story. And then what? I feel like the biggest hunk of shit on earth. Yeah. I'm friending you on Facebook again with a sorry message. Swearing you up and down all through my text, hoping none of them went through. And now I'm in the wrong and I have to apologize. And so now it's like when I text somebody and something's going on, instead of going to, it's all about me and fuck me and you, oh, you're going to do this and taking it personal. It's like, is he all right? Let me make sure he's all right. Let me, you know, call somebody else that knows him and make sure he's cool and nothing's wrong, you know? And it's the same thing with when people cut me off and drive like assholes. Maybe the wife's pregnant. Maybe his mom just got rushed to the fucking hospital and he's in a rush. Or maybe he's just a fucking asshole idiot. And again, that's not my problem.
Yeah.
You know?
Or it's not worth your time.
Yeah. And the thing in traffic is that, like, these people are in and out of my lives in seconds, maybe minutes. And I never have to see them ever again, you know? Maybe every day at 9 o'clock at the same light or something, but nonetheless, it's not someone I have to live with. It's not something, it's not affecting my life. Or when something gets me to that point of anger, it's like to quickly ask myself, is this going to affect me in 3 months? Is this going to affect me in a year? And chances are 9 out of 10 times it's not, you know? So if I just let it go, and it doesn't mean that I still don't get furious and I let it go and go, like, in my head, I'm like, you lucky motherfucker. Today's your lucky day. I'm going to let this go, you son of a bitch. And then 30 seconds later, I'm like fucking changing a song because I just let it the fuck go. Instead of my whole life had just been take it personal, taking it personal, taking it personal until it fucking finally what? It overflows and then you just happen to cut me off and today's the day, motherfucker. You win. Boom. And I explode, right? And that's the dragon that we're going to fucking talk about. So, before we get into the book, the last thing that I wanted to talk to you about is, going on deployment, being in a combative role, whether it's infantry to ranger to special forces to Marine recon to Navy SEAL, whatever, those branches that are doing shit, right? Not to discredit anyone else that did anything, even if you were in transportation and you were with an infantry unit, whatever it is, but those kind of things, why do you think, do you think that guys with, because I guess the basic thing is, how do some guys do 26 deployments and come home and join the force and become a cop, and everything seems to be cool. I'm really under the belief that nobody that's done deployment and shit like that is fine and has it all together. Some are just better at masking it. But how do some do 15 deployments or whatever it is and kind of figure it out? Some do one deployment, blow their fucking heads off, turn to drugs and alcohol. Like, do you think that the ones with more childhood trauma are more susceptible to chaos and fucking up their lives and violence and all that stuff as opposed to the ones that had better childhoods? Like, that's this thing that I really, and I'm sure there's a study on it somewhere, but I just want to know your opinion on why you think some of us, you know, you and I had similar childhoods, right? And tons of trauma and tons of fucking weird decisions that we shouldn't have had to made at the ages we did. And we both joined the military, and you went and did what I saw one of my friends do, and go the fucking distance and do all the shit that we all talked about wanting to do, you know? And I had to live with that. I'm not good enough because I broke my foot and didn't go to fucking RIP. I didn't go to airborne school. I didn't do all the things that I said I was going to do. And my other buddies went and then did Ranger and did selection and went to fucking the Green Berets and did all the fucking cool G.I. Joe shit that I wanted to do and didn't do. And I'm not fucking good enough. And how did he go and do all that? Yet I didn't. And here I am and I'm a goddamn fucking disaster. How does that work, you know?
That's a tough one, man, because part of me feels like we're better suited for the chaos of combat and war because of our childhood and the trauma and stuff. And then part of me is like, it's a double-edged sword, and we're also super susceptible to the terrible aftermath that comes with it. You know, it's like I felt at home with the chaos and the crazy shit happening in Afghanistan. And it was just like, fuck, this is just another day. Like I've experienced trauma that's different in the point to where this feels like nothing. Like, oh, you want to shoot at me? Like, whatever, dude. At least you're not fucking tormenting me day in and day out, and there's nothing I could do about it. And you're fucking a manipulative, hateful person that wants to like ruin my life, you know? Like that is trauma. Like that is or for me, that's my, you know, crutch or hardships that I have to deal with. But at the same time, I do think that we're more susceptible to the bad shit. And I don't know, man. I think that just like you, people just hide it, and not on purpose. They probably just haven't like faced it yet. And I think a lot of dudes won't even try to face it until they get out of the police department, they get out of the military and do the 15 years. Because if you think about it, if you just keep pushing it in the closet and keep it there, and then you do a 15-year stint, well, that's 15 years that you're just grinding, doing the same thing. So you don't have to look at it yet. But at some point, you're going to have to stop being a police officer. You're going to have to stop being in the military. And then now you're going to have to come to terms with 15, 25 years of shit hitting you all at once.
That's like, you know how many guys I know that are afraid of getting out of the military or afraid of getting out of law enforcement? Because then what?
Yeah.
The fuck am I going to do?
Your whole identity's wrapped up in it. Yeah. Everything. Like who you are is a badge or a fucking uniform. And that's not saying that you shouldn't be proud of. Of course you should be proud. You know, unfortunately, law enforcement gets treated like shit right now, but hopefully that pendulum comes back, and all we could do is treat them respectfully and support them to try and get that pendulum to come back faster. But at the same time, it's hard not to get caught up in the badge or the uniform, because once you put it on, you represent that. And that becomes, so like once I took off the uniform, I just put on a badge. So it was like, okay, I don't represent this anymore, but I still represent this. And then once I stopped being a cop, like it was a weird thing. People would ask me like, what do you do? I'm like, oh fuck, man, I don't even know what to call it. Like, I don't know. Like a YouTuber, I guess. Like that sounds lame as fuck.
Right.
No offense to YouTubers. I'm not trying to talk shit, but like it's weird to say that, because I've always had like, oh, I'm in the military, or oh, I'm a police officer. And it's like, okay. And then in these social environments, it's instantly acceptable, right? Like you could just say, oh, I'm an IT guy, you know, but once you get out of that and you finally hang that up, it's tough to deal with. But
I think it's too, this thing of like this level of like I said, I didn't do enough, right? Like I went to Bosnia when guys, I left, I deployed 8 days after 9/11, and the first wave of Afghanistan was just coming back. So I'm in Arizona and I'm at Boz, and I'm like, yeah, I just got back from Bosnia, and people are like, where's that? And is that in Asia? And I'm like, no. And then these guys are coming back from Afghanistan and shit, and all the chicks, and they're like, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. So, dude, I started going, I just got home from Afghanistan because I was sick of not being recognized. Like, it wasn't good enough what I did, you know? And I think, like, I had such regret when I got out of the military because I didn't do enough, and I could have done more, you know? And, like, I had purpose, and I had meaning, and I was good at what I fucking did. Now what? You know what I mean? I'm good with a fucking machine gun. I'll lug that motherfucker around everywhere. I'm good at listening and following orders and doing my stuff, and I'm ready, and I know what to do. But now what? So again, like, I feel like a lot of us, like, well, I'll take the fucking police exam. Yeah. And I was just talking to my buddy Matt about this, and the reason why I'm glad that I didn't do it, my intentions were not in the right place. I never was like, I want to be law enforcement so that I can protect and serve and make sure the community's safe. I wanted to be a cop so I could get away with shit. I wanted to be able to fucking speed. I wanted to be able to fucking pull you over and do whatever the fuck because again, to me, it was that, like, you know, that bullied kid that, or like that, you know, I didn't have that control or power, and this seemed like the fucking best route to go about doing that. You know what I mean?
And the crazy thing is, because a lot of people think that, you know, oh, you just act like this because you got a badge on. It's like, it's the fucking opposite. Once you put that badge on, you could get away with less and less and less, and to the point where it's like,
especially now,
I fucking hated it. I hated it because I can't even do anything as a normal person. Like, I take the uniform off, I'm driving to work, and somebody cuts me off and I want to flip them off. I'm like, all they have to do is find out I'm a cop and call my fucking work. Any person ever, no matter what. My fucking neighbor, I had buddies in the apartment where they got into tiffs with their neighbors, and the neighbors would call their departments and get them in trouble. So I'm like, fuck me, dude. Like, at any point in my life, I can get in trouble at work for anything. If you don't like my attitude, you can call my boss and I can get in trouble. So I started to feel like really confined, and like the walls were fucking coming in on me. You know, people think that you're the cops, right? You're the police.
Yeah, people think it's the shield.
Yeah.
You know? Like, get fucking, it's just you and, you know, it's like a team. You guys are just undercover, and you go around, steal drugs and sell them and shoot people and just fucking
do whatever you want.
Brush some dirt over it.
Yeah, just fucking brush it under the rug, and you'll be fine. Cover it up.
It's crazy because I didn't even think about that, where it's like, you know, literally you're under the microscope, and then never mind when you're on with body cameras and everything else and cell phones. I mean, it's like, you know, I watch some of these things and just go like, man, a lot of times, like, just let this motherfucker do his job, dude. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, cool. Sometimes shit's out of line and it should be recorded, sure, you know, but you can stay back and do that, because then me personally, I'm not going out and recording shit. I'm not catching a stray bullet. I don't know what's going on, and I'm not nosy enough to be like, excuse me, guys. When that shooting happened in my apartment, I opened my blinds to see what the fuck was going on, and when there's two officers out there with AR-15s with lights and shit, and they're like, sir, step away from the window, I'm not like, huh? Well, why? You got it, dude. Cool. I'm stepping away from the fucking window, because you would not be here with those rifles if something was not going down. And the fact that it's not aimed towards my window is a fucking good day. So yes, I bid you adieu, sir. Yeah. And I will step away from the window, right? And I'm not like, let me crack it a little bit and get my phone out so I can, you know, record it. Like, it's not the right time and place. If it happened across the street and I'm out front, yeah, sure. I'll throw it on the gram. Why not?
People don't realize, like, how frustrating it is as a guy. Like, there'll be times when we had a barricaded suspect who's like saying he's going to fucking shoot everybody. And you got whole families like opening up. We're pointing guns at their at a room in their apartment complex. We told them to fucking leave or whatever, or stay down. And they're like, they got all the blinds open and their whole family stand there just watching us like it's a fucking TV. And I'm like, this is what cops are now. Like, we're just a fucking spectacle.
But to me, what that says about people too is that, like, real enough shit like that hasn't happened or affected your life personally for you to know that this is a situation.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's like, what if that dude starts popping off, and instead of staying where we fucking told you or getting out, now one of your kids catches around because you thought it was all fun and games, and you're fucking Karen that wants to be like, what are you guys doing? And you wouldn't believe, as soon as you said, what are you guys doing? Why? It's like so many people. Why?
Well, you know what happens
Why?
when the stray bullet happens? It's your fault. You guys are the police. Why didn't you stop them? You know?
Yeah. It's fucking dealing with the community is so much harder than people think, man. Because all the people that get on there want to talk about it. Like, you're a normal person.
How long did you do on the force with them?
Oh, it was like 3 years.
Okay.
I got onto a special team. It was like a small team, citywide impact team. And we were having a good time. Like, we got to do what we wanted to do. Finally, I got on a team, and instead of answering calls, it was like wherever the crime was popping the most, it was like, hey, go try to suppress it as much as you can. If it's shootings, try to find illegal guns. If it's drug use, try to find the dope. And then George Floyd happened, and I was like, I'm not doing this. Like, we were having people follow us around, try to instigate things so they could record it. And I was like, you guys are trying to, like, this is my life. This is my livelihood. My family's on the line. And you're going to try to follow me around all day. Like, I had one car, followed us to like 5 stops all day long. They're following us around and then like yelling and trying to instigate stuff. And if you keep playing that game, like, who's got our back? The department isn't going to support us if they catch something that looks bad or they don't like, or they instigate you into saying something stupid because you get pissed and they catch it. The department's not going to be like, well, you followed him around all day and kept instigating him. They're going to be like, wow, he shouldn't have said that. Let's put charges on him. So I was like, fuck that. I'm not risking my family to be attacked by the citizens that I'm trying to fucking help. So no.
So do you find it hard now or do you feel like you're ever seeking out like that chaos, or that you miss it? I mean, after being a team guy and being an officer and doing all this stuff to now just being a fucking, being an author and a family man, and you already have one kid, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. So, and being a dad and a husband and, all this stuff and a self-proclaimed YouTuber and a podcast and all this shit, I mean, but it's a bit, dude, believe me, I've done not even half that shit. And for me to be in this community, having you in my home in a studio that I built with neighbors and kids where I wave to people when I drive by, it's still sometimes, again, it's that thing of like, I don't fucking belong here, man. Like, I'm not, this isn't me. But then it's like, it is. Why isn't it? You know what I'm saying? Why don't I belong here? Why can't I do this? And it's that thing. It's that dragon. It's that thing that's telling me, motherfucker, go put fucking war paint on and fucking get in it, And it's like, I don't have to do that. You know?
Honestly, this has been the best feeling I've had, is just being whatever I am now, author, YouTuber, whatever. It feels good. And just spending time with my family and creating my own circle, so where I get to pick the people I talk to and the people I hang out with. And when I could not go to the places that cause me the most stress, So honestly, this is the best thing I've ever done. And do I have imposter syndrome? All the time. Like when I did Andy Stump's podcast, I went back to the hotel and fucking put my head in my hands. I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, what am I doing here? I'm sitting in seats that, Jocko sat in, and all these fucking elite guys that they got their shit together. And here I am, this like, I'm the one coming out. I'm the troublemaker, or the fucking, the class clown screw up coming out and be like, hey, I'm on the team. And everyone's like, what the fuck? You got these guys, Mike Glover and Jocko Willink, and they got their shit together, right? Like, it is fucking wrapped up tight. That shit is solid. You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to fuck up. You're not going to see Jocko fucking cuss somebody out, road rage. He's not going to put anything in jeopardy. He's a linear fucking, at least from my perspective, and that's why I try to like think about him when I make decisions, because he's just a fucking linear path of success is fucking that way and I'm going that way. Nothing is going to deter me. And you could come up and you could get damn near to spitting in my face before I would even look in your direction, right? But I'm not that kind of guy. And I'm going out to see Mike in 2 weeks, and it's like the fact that I'm in the circle with those guys, it's the same thing. It's this imposter syndrome, because I'm like, well, is there a spot for a guy like me in this kind of group? Like, does the world need a broken version of you guys that's all fucked up and doing things wrong, you know? But that's where I'm at, and that's who I am.
But I think you got to remember too, is like these guys had to start somewhere too, you know? And like I just saw Sean Whalen put a thing up today about like, you know, started out with his mom being his only employee and spending $100 for this and getting a heat press and going to Staples to get mailers and shit. And like in 1 year, this last year, he just cleared $4 million in sales, you know? Talking about having to spend $100 on ads every week, and that equaled $3,000 a month. And you go like, well, fuck, that's crazy. You know what I mean? It's like, and I try to, you know, I watch these guys and I watch how some of these guys move, and some of them I'm like, this guy's a fucking jerk off, and some of them I'm like, I appreciate the authenticity, I appreciate the hustle and the fucking drive, and like you said, motherfucking success is that way, you know. And everyone that thinks like, you know, I do a podcast, you do a podcast and you make all this money and shit, dude, Rogan's making money, you know what I mean? But this has cost me more than anything. But like I told you, the friendships I've made, the connections, the networking, the opportunity. Dude, the fact that anybody's wearing something that has my goddamn logo that I designed on it and supports what Tommy and I do and supports the fucking, I mean, that's cool as shit. You know, when we first put a video up, I was like, dude, if 5 people watch this, that's fucking cool. Yep. Never mind to see over 1,000 watch. That's like, holy shit, maybe we have something, you know?
Yeah.
And it's more worth, I didn't do this because I thought I was going to get rich. You know what I mean? I did it because it was like,
well, it helps us too. Like, you know, we get to talk about it and meet people and get these things off our chest, and to see, like you said, you get the messages from people who are like, dude, thank you. And it's like, that's amazing. And when, you know, hearing Tommy, when he was talking about his stuff, it's like, man, this guy, by all intents and purposes, I like, how many people love that dude's songs, right? And then here he is having struggles and talking about struggles, and then your struggles, and then, you know, my struggle. That I don't know. To me, that's more powerful. And whether we like it or not, that's the class we're in. You know, it may be the in school suspension part of the the school.
Where all the fucking cool kids were.
That's right. But you know what? That's where we're at, and people are fucking liking it, you know? And I think it's helping people that have fucked up realize that, hey man, you could always come back. You know, like, I don't know where you've gone, but you got to stop beating yourself up, and you got to start getting some mentors or some guidance from people who have been through some stupid shit, you know, so you know that it's not too late. Stop fucking telling yourself that you're a shitbag person that can't do anything. You know, like how could anybody look at you and be like, well, I've done drugs, or I've been a criminal now. You know, you're giving too many people an example that they don't have to fucking submit to that life.
Yeah. And I think that's what, you know, when I met Tommy, and I could see right away that I was like, here's a dude that for all intents and purposes has it made. I mean, he doesn't, everything's fine. And when I heard him talk honestly about this stuff, and like when, you know, they really started getting big and he was touring a bunch and shit like that, where we weren't even really friends yet, and I just kind of knew him. And then to the point of like us talking and saying, you know, hey, do you want to do the podcast and shit? And I'm like, this motherfucker could have asked 20,000 people to do a podcast with him. Why the fuck did he ask me? But instead of going like, oh, well, I can't do it, it's Tommy and shit, I'm like, hell yeah, this motherfucker asked me, let's rock it out, you know? And it was like we were talking about earlier, it goes to show that depression, all that shit, none of that shit discriminates. Doesn't give a fuck how much money you make. Doesn't care if you're poor or rich. Or, I mean, you know, people think, you know, you look at Tommy and go like, oh, he's a rock star, he's got it all made. And I think that that's why he's so loved and so appreciated, because he keeps it real and he talks about shit. And, you know, when he's not talking about how fucking, you know, there's a conspiracy and that something's going to blow up and then we're all going to die. And I'm grateful that he does that shit too, because I wouldn't fucking know about it if he didn't. But it's the fact that he shows that someone like that can still be vulnerable and still talk about real shit. So like when that whole thing went down and you had messaged me and been like, hey, I'm worried about Tommy, blah, blah, blah. And like, I immediately reached out to people and this and that. And when I sent him a text, the biggest fear in my heart was I'm not going to get a response. And that I don't want to do that, man. I don't want to know what that means, you know? And when he responded like, I'm okay and blah, 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 I'm just going to take some time for myself. That's it. I'm not going to keep going and go, well, what's wrong? And, you know, talk to me. No. The fact that I that was enough that I knew, cool. somewhere you're going to get it level and everything. And, we just talked the other day, and it was like talking to my friend again. You know what I mean? Like a new flame under his ass and ready to rock. And we talked about what we're going to do moving forward and all this shit. And I was super hyped on it. So,
well, that conversation, and I messaged you, but like I said, I was having some whiskey and watching that, and it helped me. It helped me to see somebody who's, because like, what if this keeps going, right? Like, what if, book number 2 is written by an actual author and does really well, or the podcast thing keeps working out, or the momentum that's going right now continues, and people start to come after me. Because I feel like he was being open about it. Like, man, when you get a certain level of notoriety, and everything's relative, right? I mean, I don't want to, there's rock stars, but we still have, even in the podcast community or YouTube community, there's still levels of notoriety, and to get a target on your back and to hear him be open about how people are going to come after you and try to take advantage and get their hands in your pockets, it gave me some encouragement, because I'm having that with my own family now. They're trying to come after me, and it's like, fuck, man. So, but who do I talk to? I reach out to a couple of people that have some notoriety, and I'm not saying I do by any means, but my family thinks that if you write a book that you're fucking rich, then you're getting paid $1 million to write a book. So I reached out to a couple people that I know that had some notoriety, and I was like, does this anything like this ever happen to you? And they're like, no, man, I got a good family.
Well, never mind the people that are like, dude, why didn't you put me in the book? Right? You know how many of my friends are like, oh, dude, have me on the podcast. I'm like, okay, check this out, dude, right? This ain't a fucking club for it. You know what I mean? It's like, I will, but why? I mean, to me, it's like, what's relatable, or what makes you, what's your fucking, what makes you interesting? Like, you know what I'm saying? Not that I'm the most interesting motherfucker, but I just, it's not that kind of party where it's just like, oh, well, since you have a podcast, let me just get, and people think like you just sit here and talk. Like, dude, I had to do goddamn research. I have to write these fucking things out so that we don't sit here and go, cool, huh? Yeah. Wow. This is pretty cool.
Well, and the crazy thing is for me too, is I have to, and this is something I'm always working on, right? Is I have to start, and I have a mentor that's been helping me through it, and I have to develop the purpose, and it has to keep evolving, because at the end of the day, this is what Steve always says, that people helping people. Like, that's the motto, right? So why are you fucking doing this? I'm not doing this so people know who Sean Rogers is, because like, who gives a fuck? I'm doing this to try and help people. The people that are fucking messaging my inbox and hit me up, they care, and this is affecting them. But how do I keep that going and keep the message evolving to help more people and to be more impactful, right? So every time I jump on a podcast, because I had somebody tell me recently that I've done too much. He was like, because we were scheduled to do a podcast, and he's like, dude, you've done too much. Why have you done so many? You've done like 10 podcasts in the past like month. He's like, that's too many. And I was like, I'm sorry, man. Like, every time I get on here, it's a chance to reach one more person that is different in that audience that I could help, and then work on the message so I could keep getting better to help more people. Because like you said, this isn't just about fucking talking. Like, if I wanted to do that, I could just turn on my camera and talk on fucking YouTube endlessly. Mm-hmm. So why fly around the fucking country to talk to people? We're trying to help people. It has a purpose. Everything that we're doing is for a reason. And
I've had more people reach out to me and been like, I saw you on Big Herc. Shout out to Herc. And I saw you on Big Herc's Fresh Out series. And then that's what led me to Deviant Gentleman, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But when I get a kid or a guy that's from Boston or from anywhere, really, I've had.
Real quick, I'm sorry, can I cut you off? Have you seen those fucking Boston Lager commercials? He goes from Boston. Come on,
for
man.
beer?
For beer.
Nah, because I don't really have regular TV, so I never see commercials.
Dude, you're killing me, bro. They made you have to look at it. I didn't mean to cut you off,
nah,
but we have to watch.
We're just getting fucking serious and emotional, but that was important.
Sorry. That was a bad time.
I mean, the one I remember is from like last Super Bowl with John Krasinski and them, and they're like, it's got Smart Pack. That one that they did for the car, that one was pretty funny.
Dude, they made a IPA that was non-alcoholic, And he was like, when your cousin come over from Boston, and he was like, there's no alcohol in it. What the dude? You got what? Anyway.
All right, I'll look it up. But yeah, so nonetheless, when I get somebody that reaches out to me that's like, dude, whether you know it or not, you've helped me so much, and blah blah blah, and listening to you and Tommy, or when we had the Hard to Kill guys on, and I think it's just no matter what, it's relatable, right? It's more relatable than just everything's great and I get all this money and look at me and all this stuff's great. It's like, you know what? A lot of shit's great and a lot of shit's not great. And a lot of shit wasn't great for a long time. And here's what I did to kind of get out of that place. Like I've had so many people tell me you should write a book, and it's like something that I've just put off. And I want to because of that, not because I want to be on fucking Oprah and talk about my book. It's because I want someone to read it. I want someone to watch this and go, holy fuck, I'm not the only one that feels like that.
Yeah.
I just had a kid reach out to me from back home. Well, his friend reached out to me and said, my friend's really struggling with drinking. Is there anything you can do? And I mean, I can do what I can. So I reach out to somebody back home in Boston. Like, my two connections right now is Boston and Los Angeles. So if that's where you are and you're struggling, I can reach out to some people and get you on the phone and see what we can do about getting you into treatment or whatever it is you need to do. You know what I mean? I'm always more than willing to do that. But unfortunately, it comes with that person doing a lot of the footwork. I can lead you to water. I can't make you drink it though,
Right. But it's for a reason. I guess that's kind of what I was getting to with your friends just wanting to come on and talk and stuff. Cause I've had similar people ask me like, oh, we should do a podcast on this. We should do a podcast on that. I'm like, well, at the end of the day, are we giving back, or are we just talking for the sake of talking? Because I'm not.
I'm not cool enough, and it's like, well, it's not that you're not cool enough, but I mean, yeah, you're not cool enough. All right. So the book. So
you could edit out the Boston part, the commercial.
Fuck it, we'll leave it. I'm not a big editor. I like the fucking real shit. The fact the door's been open this whole fucking time, but whatever. And I pray that it looks like that's still recording. Let's fingers crossed. So Rise Above is it an autobiography or it's a biography? Autobiography is when someone writes it about you, right?
Sure.
Yeah. All right. Either way, it's a fucking book that he wrote about his life, his experience. And it's not just this, about my time in the military. It's a good grip of this is my life. This is how it started. This is when I got to the military. This was my experience in the military. And this is my experience now. I'll be honest with you. I got about 50 pages left. So there's that. But from what I have read already, and I'm not really want to get into too much to be like, all right, let's talk about the whole fucking book so that no one ever reads it. But for me, there were certain things that stuck out that you wrote that were, I've been reading them and just looking at them and going, fucking hell, man. And I think the biggest thing throughout the book is the dragon, right? Taming this dragon. I know all about that, man. That dragon I watched grow from that thing grew up with me from fucking 6 to now I'm 40, and you talk about this this dragon inside us, right? That goes from fucking mowing down everything and everything, relationships, jobs, opportunities, fucking let me, as soon as something good comes in, let me get my dragon and burn this shit to the ground. Yeah. To learning how to not kill it, not get rid of it, because it's not fucking going anywhere.
Yeah.
So how do I tame it and then now burn this path to fucking success and burn anything that's going to be in my way towards achieving happiness, success, and all this stuff.
Right. And I think it's cool that you kind of held on to that part of it. And I think that's because our paths are very similar. Because for a lot of people, I don't know how the dragon reference comes off to most people.
Right. Normal humans.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like, the experience, and it's almost hard to articulate to you because I know that you know it so well, but because people are listening, it's like everything that you touch, you fucking destroy, and it's just a matter of time. It's like you don't even get attached to anything because you're just going to fuck it up. And then at some point in my life, I started to realize like my whole thing was always running away from it. And my brother's is more like he wanted to kill it. Like, I'm going to fucking own this thing. I'm going to kill it, and then it's going to be gone. And then it wouldn't work, and then he would just beat himself up and feel like he took a step backwards. Mine was to run away from it. So I was like, I'm going to outperform this motherfucker. And I'm going to do all the things that bring me as far away from my childhood and as far away from that dragon as possible to prove that, like, I'm away from it. I've grown past it, you know, and that's why I say, like, running the ultra marathons and all those things that I was doing was because from my perspective, that's what normal people, like, did. And that's what, you know, they put it on a pedestal. So I was like, I'm going to do all them fucking things to prove that that's not me. Education. So we got bachelor, I got master's degree, you know, all these, like, check off the block fucking impressive things to normal people. And then every time I felt like I achieved something and I escaped it, my anger would come up or my fucking personality would come up. And I would realize that I'm no farther away from it than the fucking day I started. And it would break me, you know, because it's like, fuck, dude, I hate feeling like I am this fucking white trash kid from Phelan that grew up in a trailer and on welfare, and, you know, no amount of achievement is going to change that. And
well, it's filling this void, right? I got this empty fucking hole, and the more shit I do, eventually it's going to fill it. And what happens, it just keeps falling in this hole and nothing's filling it.
Right.
What the fuck? Like, for me, the turning blue ceremony when I graduated infantry school was the proudest moment of my entire fucking life, probably still to this day, the exception of getting sober. But when my old man was there to fucking put my blue cord on, like, you know, I get emotional thinking about it, because to me, it's that another thing we're going to get to in here where it's like, I finally fucking made you proud. I finally did something that you can tell people I'm proud of my son because he fucking graduated infantry school and he got through it and I got to, you know, put his blue cord on and shit. And dude, I was convinced that, like, you know, the military had changed me. I cleaned up my act and, you know, and now I got my blue cord and everything's cool. And, like, that wasn't the fucking case, because I got this great achievement. But like you said, dude, I was this close to making it through boot camp. The amount of times, and like you say in the book, where you think like you go there and it's just you're allowed to fight and do whatever the fuck you want. And no, because I'm getting in fights. I'm doing all this shit. I'm with the drill sergeant, I'm with the first sergeant, and they're like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, here's the deal, dude. You have one chance to get, if you fucking put your hands on one more person here, that's it. You're fucking gone. And I remember that last conversation where they took me to the first sergeant's office and that was it. And I was like, I got to cut the shit, you know, because I still, and it's like you said, I mean, for some reason they saw something in me. They knew that I had the potential if I could just fucking, my drill sergeant Powell used to tell me, you'd be a fucking great soldier, but this anger, dude, you have to get a fucking grip on this anger.
Yeah.
You know? And I remember thinking like, fuck you, motherfucker.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll never forget my drill sergeant. He was very similar. You know, I got in a fight and he came out and I was expecting him to take me to the first sergeant's office. I was like, I'm fucked. And he goes, did you spit on those guys' mats? And I was like, or he goes, no. So I spit on their mats and then we ended up fighting. And then he was like, what happened? I was like, I spit on their fucking mats. I was like, you being a dick. And he was like, dude, I don't think he was more, I think he was more taken back by the fact that I told him that I owned up to spitting on their mats than walking out and seeing, you know, 3 people just going after it and getting into it. And but he gave me a chance. Instead of walking me down the first sergeant's office, he looked at me and was like, dude, you gotta get your shit right, man. What the fuck? He goes, get in class. And like I sat in class, like just thinking, just kind of like, what just happened? No one's really done that for me before. You know, it's like no one really looked at me like you're a fucking idiot, but I know, you know, that potential's there. So I'm going to let this one go. And then from there, I kind of felt like I didn't want to let him down by continuing down that path to the point where he had to take me to the first sergeant, you know, and I had to start getting processed out. But yeah, so the military definitely does not let you do whatever the fuck you want.
I mean, real quick story. So the last time that I got my last warning and everything, so I had fractured my foot and I got crutches, and we're coming up to the end, like FTX is coming up and shit, and like I gotta figure it out because I ain't wearing the fucking Ranger Reeboks, and like I gotta put my boots on and go do this fucking 25 out, you know, 21 out, 20 out, 25 back, whatever it was. And but the week before that, I'm like trying to heal, so I'm on crutches and the whole platoon's getting smoked and I'm up at the front and I don't really have to do shit, right? And which I could have, but it was like, oh, thank God I got a free pass out of this one. And a kid that, like, dude, him and I became friends in reception, you know, so we're friends in reception. We go down range together. I mean, this kid was my boy. And for whatever reason, he stands up and, like, again, he's probably just fooling around or whatever, you know. And he's like, Drill Sergeant Powell, Vitkovich was up here earlier laying down on his rack while we were all doing this, and I wasn't. And I'm just going like, why the fuck would this kid lie and do this right now? And without even a thought, dude, I take the crutch and bash him in the face with it. His fucking lip splits wide open, blood everywhere. Here's this kid that's like been my boy since day one. And without hesitation, I just cracked him in the face with a crutch. The drill sergeant's sitting there, mouth agape, like, what the fuck are you doing? And that's when they pulled me in the office, and I went in with this first sergeant. And you know the worst part of that whole thing was that I lost my friend because of that. Like, he didn't speak to me after that and nothing. Like, he was so...
You never found out if he's kidding? Because it kind of sounds like he deserved a little fucking whop in the face.
I mean, I think that I found him on Facebook and friend requested a message and never heard anything back. And one of my buddies who I still keep in touch with, he just called me last night, and we were talking about that, and he, you know, still goes like, I can't, what the fuck were you thinking, dude? When you just blast this kid. I'm like, that's the thing was, for the longest time, there was no thought process. It was just, I think it, I do it.
Yeah.
And that's it, you know? And I think that's what was so relatable to me in your book is how many times it was, oh, this is what's going down? Well, let's fucking roll, you know? Enough talking. Let's fucking get to it, you know?
And that's, dude, that's what either book number 2 is going to be about or try to get a short film going or something, because I really want to show what me and my brother's life really was like, as far as like, because I skimmed, you know, it's a short book. I just wanted to get it out there.
But man, there's some stories in there that are like fucking holy shit, dude, you know? Yeah. And I won't get into too many, but every single one of them, you just go like, fucking hell. And for me, I'm not a big, like, I don't know that I'm super imaginative, but when you can give it to me to read and it's in my head how I see it, you know what I mean? It's like, the way I would draw the car crashed into the fucking mound and all this shit is like, would not be the same as how it really happened. But I can fucking paint that in my head because I know how realistic that is. The feeling of dealing with the older brother's friends or the new kids and like guns and you're like, what the fuck is happening right now? And like, like I said in a lot of these episodes is, you know, like a duck on water, dude. For all outward appearances, I'm sitting there calm, cool, and collective, but inside, the fucking legs are going like this. The little duck legs are going 100 miles an hour, and I'm like, holy fuck, holy fuck, holy fuck, you know? But yeah, so the dragon was great, but and then, you know, broken boys want to break things. Fucking A.
Fucking A.
There ain't a truer statement, right?
It's true, man.
Boys want to break things.
That it's just, man.
I mean, it's as simple as when I was a kid, throwing a rock through a window. Even right now, still seems kind of fucking cool. We would go to abandoned places that still had glass in them, and you just fucking all humming rocks, smoking butts, doing whatever you're doing, just to hear the fucking shattering of windows. You know?
Yeah, and it felt like when you were the one. We're so used to being in like this pain and always like some kind of fucking trauma torment. But when you are the one enacting the pain, you get a reprieve from it. And so that becomes like normal thing to do. Like you're either trying to kick someone's ass, you're getting your ass kicked, or you're breaking something, or you're trying to figure out what kind of law you could break or whose house you could vandalize. It's always something, dude. I had a bush. It was like one of my mom's boyfriend's house. There's a bush out front, and I would tie a fucking the fishing line across, and I had that perfect little bush so I could hide inside of it, and I would fucking hang stuff on the line and watch it just break people's windshields, and I would fucking throw things at their cars. I remember one dude, I threw something at his truck, and he had a quad in the back, and this motherfucker wasn't playing. He stopped the truck and backed the quad off the truck and started chasing me through the fucking desert. And because I would run the rabbit trails, like I was really good at, because you in the desert, dude, you got those like little foot tall cactuses everywhere. So if you weren't careful, you're kicking one of them bitches. Yeah. So I would run the rabbit trails and I'd be quick, and people wouldn't want to chase me into the desert. This motherfucker pulled that quad off, and I'm laying in the desert all low. It was at night, and I could see him with his flashlight. And then his buddy is pulling the quad off. I'm like, oh, fuck. because I was just want to wait for him to drive off. And then he started coming looking for me. I was like, this is it. These motherfuckers, they might kill me.
Yeah.
And they might have. And they know shit. It was me and my buddy were there, and we split up. And my buddy went the right way because they didn't go towards him. And I'm running for my fucking life from this guy on a quad because I just lit his truck up with
and you
rocks.
would think that like, oh shit, but that was the goal, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, when I threw shit at cars and they just took off, it was like, all right, that was cool.
Yeah.
But when you threw something at a car, and whether it was an acorn, a crab apple, and same thing, we used to have these little bike paths and shit, and boom, 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 fucking 6 things hit one car. And how much damage and shit we're doing to people. Like, what a piece of shit, right? With no regard for anyone else's well-being or whatever. And when it was like a dude and he would pull over, stop, and get out of his car and chase us, it was like fucking heavy metal. Now it's on. Until guess what? You're riding your bike and boom, someone hits a rock, ass over tea kettle, and you're like, do we stay? Do we get him? I gotta get the fuck out of here. And he gets caught. And, you know, there was a few times, I'll never forget one time these kids caught my friend from another town and he had a marijuana leaf ring. And he punched my friend in the face so hard that the kid had the fucking imprint of a marijuana leaf on his face for like fucking 3 days. But yeah, dude, it's like all that shit again was just like, I just want to feel something. You know? I just want to feel I didn't care if you were feeling it or what I was doing to you or if I'm damaging your property. It was just like, give me that adrenaline, give me something, because that was my high at the time prior to drugs.
Yeah.
You know?
It's the only thing that's taken away from the stress of home and the anxiety of home. And when you grow up in those situations, that lasting anxiety always in your stomach and the knots and the feeling of wanting to throw up
makes living at home easier.
Dude, I fucking hate it all the time. So you're trying even if it's for a brief moment of that guy chasing you, you didn't feel that, you know? For
me, my friends were my life. That was it. That's all I cared about. Like that, I never wanted to leave. I never wanted to go home. Because then when I went home, it was like, I don't know if I behaved today or not. I don't know what kind of mood my old man's in today, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and that sucks because you always get kicked out of the friend's house.
Yeah.
You find that one
where it's time to go. And
yeah.
Like, fuck.
Damn it, please. Right. You find the one with the parents are cool and they'll let you stay a couple days longer, but you always get kicked out.
All right, 2 more things. So the other thing was we all have our own version of a poor, embarrassed kid inside of us. You know, for me, I grew up in a middle to upper class neighborhood outside of Boston, and I never felt good enough. I didn't want people to come over my house because it was fucking gross. I didn't want, you know, my old man was the kind of, he would call, again, depending on what kind of mood he's in, my friends would call the house, hi, is Shane there? It was either, let me see, hold on, or he'll call you back, or it was no, don't call here again, and hang up. And I'm like, that's so fucking embarrassing. Like, don't do that to my friends. You know what I mean? And, yeah, dude, you know, I remember and kids come in with all this new shit, and I was lucky if I went to Marshall's and, you know, probably had some of the same shit from last year. Or my dad worked for the railroad, and it was like guys' sons that were older than me. And dude, you know how excited I would get? He'd come home with a trash bag full of shit that wasn't mine that I got to go through. And what I didn't take, my nephew got, you know what I mean? And it's like, but it wasn't brand new, and you could tell that. And it's like you feel inadequate or I'm not fucking good enough. And to me, like that kind of statement of like, that's just such a thing of like reminding myself, like, I don't have to be that poor, embarrassed kid anymore, you know? And it's like, I didn't get all this to be like, hey, let me prove that I didn't. It's like, I got this because like I fucking finally deserve to have something like this, because I didn't let that thought of I don't deserve it because I'm this poor, embarrassed kid define me.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely. And I'm in the same boat, man. I take pride in where I live more than anything because I always hated where I lived. It was fucking embarrassing, you know, and I tried my ass off to not have friends come over and to not, you know, to always go to their house and things like that. But yeah.
Although the barbecues did sound fun.
Oh, those are a fucking
You got to read the book if you want to hear about the barbecues. And then I think the biggest thing, other than, you know, dude, all of these things to me were huge, but I was desperate for someone I respected to tell me I was good enough.
Yeah, that was a big one, and that's where the military really like came in for me. And I was as I was going through Ranger selection to get hurt, because I would have done anything that Ranger cadre told me to. Anything. Like my ankle was fucked when I fell, and he said, "Get up." I got up, and when I stepped on it, it was uncontrollable pain. Probably some of the most severe pain I've ever felt taking that step, and I was making weird grunting noises as I'm stepping on it. And he said, "Shut up," and I shut the fuck up. Every ounce of pain, I didn't give a fuck. He told me to do it, I'm doing it. And then I got like damn near to the front of the pack because he said go, and it's like, I will do anything you tell me to. I just want to prove to you that, I could be with you, and that, you guys would welcome me into your circle of people that I respect. So getting hurt, that fucking broke me because I missed that chance, and as you know, in the military which going back to what you said about not feeling like you did enough, I think that's no matter what, because trust me, I feel inadequate that I never tried Delta selection or that I didn't do 5 deployments. But, so missing that opportunity to have a Ranger tell me that I was good enough, it fucking crushed me. And as you know, in the military, that's what I'm saying, is that you can't just be like, that's all right, tomorrow I'm going to go to another selection. It's not fucking easy getting the paperwork together, getting people to say yes, getting your command to approve it. Like, these opportunities are farther and fewer between than people think. It was another year and a half or a year before I'd even get a chance to try and come back to another selection. But I needed that desperately.
Yeah. And I think, it started from growing up wanting the older kids to, make me feel like I was good enough to hang out. Like, fuck, I get to hang out with them, like always seeking that approval. And I remember in boot camp, and, another thing that you touch on there about is like, becoming the leader of the platoon and stuff like that. And where, I remember when they picked me as platoon leader in boot camp, and I was like, fuck yeah, dude. It's like, that means you recognized how hard I'm working and what I'm doing, that I can lead this platoon. And, sure as shit, I fucked that up because a kid said something to me, and I grabbed him by the neck in the fucking bathroom and poured my canteen over his head and bashed him with it once or twice. And this motherfucker runs down the formation, and he's like, "Drill Sergeant Harry, Vitkovich just punched me in the bathroom." I'm like, this motherfucker, and he's like, fucking Vitkovich fall in and called out my next friend to be the platoon leader. And I remember being like I let them down, like, God damn it, they had so much faith in me. But I think another point that you make too is where I don't have to be the leader of the platoon and be the best and out push up everyone and be the best shot and everything. I need to be a team member to let them know that I'm the, what did you call it? Like the fucking, like the vessel to keep this ship going, like I'm a conduit, I think is what you said, of like keeping everyone on the same page. It's not that I'm better than you, and then, which is like what you experienced with your team sergeant when you were in that situation where it's like, this dude's making fucking bad decisions right now, and that's out of like, whether it's pride, ego, or I gotta be the best or whatever it is, you're not thinking on a team level. And if there's one thing the military taught me, it's that it's not fucking me. Like, you're as strong as your weakest link. So you better get back there and help that motherfucker pick up that log and goddamn carry it with him, because I don't give a shit that you got here in 3 minutes. If it's taking him fucking 8, it's taking you 8.
Yeah.
And I remember when we did our FTX and we were coming back, and we had 5 miles left maybe, and my foot is fucking killing me. And they get the deuce and a half behind us. They get the one drill sergeant that's running around going, "Come on, Joe, get on the fucking deuce and a half. You can get in there, grab a sandwich, get some water, fucking sit it out. You're good, And you're like, fuck, man, and you're like, I can't do that. Like, dude, I just endured fucking 16 weeks of this shit. Like, I remember kids that fucking quit week 15, and I'm like, bro, what the fuck is you doing? Like, you just did all that for nothing? And I remember marching, and they made me carry the 240 Bravo out and back. And I'm like, that was my point. I'm like, fuck, dude, this thing's so heavy right now. And I remember just thinking, like, I don't know. I don't think I can do it. The bottom of my feet are gone. Like, they're blistered off. I don't think I can do this. And my drill sergeant's next to me, and he's like, just let's go, Vic. Keep fucking pumping. Keep pushing. Keep pushing. Like, we're almost there. You got this, you know? And he talked to me like in a human level, not like being fucking crazy, yelling in my face, like soft so that no one else heard. And he's like, fucking, let's go, dude. You're almost there. And when we got to the top of the fucking hill and we finally get there and they tell you to fall out, and it took me probably an hour to get back to the fucking barracks down that hill because my feet hurt so bad. And thank God the next day is the warrior breakfast and you get to wear your fucking sneakers. But, dude, when I tell you I couldn't even walk or take a step and the whole bottoms of my feet were gone, but, like, I fucking did it, you know, because I always had that thing, too. Like, dude, I used to have nightmares that I went home. And everyone's like, what happened? I'm like, I don't know. Why am I here? Like, I thought I'm supposed to, I didn't finish boot camp. Why the fuck did I come home? Oh my God. And it was such this fear inside of me that I'm not going to be able to finish this. And I'm going to have to go home with my tail between my legs and be like, I couldn't do it. And I was every day I would wake up and be like, fuck that, dude. Thank God that was a dream. No way am I going to let that happen.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. I had a moment kind of like when I sprained my ankle in the rasp thing. I'll never forget the car when the people quit. They get to jump in the back of the truck, and I had blood going down my knees and blood was coming down my elbows because we were in PTs and from the fucking asphalt. I was bleeding like crazy, and I'm limping in the truck with the guys that quit. Pulls up slow, and they're all looking at everybody. They're looking at everybody, and I look over at them, and they look at me, and they look down. And as soon as they looked at me covered in blood, still fucking, not covered in blood, but blood coming from my knees. And
they want to jump off and go, all right, no, give me another chance. Give me another chance.
They looked at me pushing and their eyes went down. And you know what? Maybe those guys went on to do great things and it just wasn't their time at that point. But that moment empowered me, right? Because I'm like, I don't know what I'm about. I don't know what I have to give or how good I am. But that look that they just gave me, that they couldn't even look me in the fucking eye because they're sitting in the back of that stupid fucking truck. And they're 100%.
Goddamn deuce and a half.
It gets them every time. And then they're fine. Like they have no injuries and they're still sitting in the back of that truck. That made me feel good, and when you go into SF, we call it, you probably do it in infantry too, but you steal people's souls, and it's an important thing to not like pride yourself on being better than people, but you also need to understand that when somebody else gives up, you just prove that you're willing to go harder than that person. And then they do it again, and it's 2 people and it's 5 people. It's the same thing with anything in life, man. It's like everyone has an idea. Every person on this fucking planet has had a good idea, right? But how many people have fucking stepped up to the plate and tried it? And you get to pass them as you try your ideas and you fail. And then you try again, and then you fail again, and then you succeed. And meanwhile, you look back and you just left all these like fucking hundreds of thousands of people that have all had an idea that never took a single fucking step towards making that idea a reality. So stealing souls it's motivating because, I mean, at the end of the day, we need to know what we're about and what we bring to the table. Otherwise, we'll just count ourselves out because we have no self-value.
I think it's this double-edged sword too for me of like fear drove me so much with like, dude, I remember being in reception and then the drill sergeants come to take you down range and then it's like, it's cool. And then when you get there and you're outside the barracks and these motherfuckers with the bags over the head and screaming and it's like, what the fuck? We were just eating cake in reception, getting our heads shaved, picking out boots and shit. And this dude's a fucking huge black dude screaming right now. Like, hold on. Say that one more time. Where the fuck am I supposed to? I'm so confused right now, dude. Like, and it's just fucking chaotic. And to get used to that is fucking not normal, So it's like, man, I remember they come in 3 a.m, fucking banging the kid in the first bunk, poor bastard. Every time come in and rack his fucking rack and flip the lights on. You jump up, there's boners everywhere, and you don't know what the fuck's going on. You're like, dude, it's so bananas, And yeah,
I do remember that one when you first get off the bus and there you have all your bags in there. Get in the fucking pit. No one knows what the pit is, and they're going this way and that way, and you don't know who to follow. And every ounce of like being a normal fucking civilian is like follow the crowd, and the fucking crowd is going every different direction. It's just like, this is fucking crazy. All I want to do is what that big scary motherfucker wants me to do,
Yeah.
and I have no idea what that
Right.
is, and it's just pissing him off more.
But I think like what I was saying, so the fear thing is like, so fear, like how I kept having that dream of like, you know, I didn't commit boot camp. Oh my God, how am I going to explain this? That fear of like kept motivating me to do it. And then I think I also had that fear of like, I don't know if I'm good enough or if I have it to be a ranger, to do special forces. And it's like this fear that drove me to want to do it, but this fear that also kept me back from. And I think that's one of the things today where I've learned about having healthy fear, right? Where I'm afraid I was afraid to do a podcast. I'm afraid to do a play. I was afraid to start a clothing line. I'm afraid to do all this. I'm afraid to get engaged, all this stuff. But I think that's all healthy fear. And I kind of use that to see like, well, let me do it, you know? I just did like, I'm following the Hard to Kill fitness training thing right now. And I did a little bit of it with Matt yesterday. And, you know, never mind. Granted, I ran a mile for the first time the other day and I wanted to fucking die. Running gives me so much. All I think about is boot camp and how much I fucking hated running and doing the PT test. Oh my God. I hate running, but I do it. And never mind all that. Never mind weight training. You know what's the crazy shit? Grip work and shit like that, where you just hang from the pull-up bar for 1 minute. Dude, 20 seconds in and you're like, holy shit. You know? And
Well,
it's
you
like,
got some fucking meat on you. I could hang pretty decent, but
dude, we did a minute, 45 and 30. And then when you're not doing that, you just alligator grip like 30-pound dumbbells and farm walk with them.
Oh, that sounds
so
terrible.
when you're going back and forth and dude, that's the kind of shit where it's like, you know, you're trying it in your mind, like fucking push, but like your hands won't let you, and you pick them back up and you're going, you know, and it's like, those are the kind of things though that I like to do because it's that challenge of like, fuck, I can't do this, but I'm gonna. And then if you keep doing it over time, but those are those little things where you think, oh, I'm going to do chest today, I'm going to do back, I'm going to stretch my fucking legs. But it's like when you start doing these little things that you don't normally do, and it's like, holy shit. And then to start, now I just like start challenging myself. Like, okay, can I do it for 30 seconds? All right, I did it for 30. Let me do it for 45. Can I do it for 45? Let me do it for a minute. All right, now can I do a minute twice in a row? You know what I mean? And I think that's like that military thing of like, you know, now instead of competing with you, instead of competing with the guy across the street or Matt or these guys that, you know, I aspire, they inspire me, but that's not who I have to compete with. All I have to do is compete with myself to just like literally, dude, all I do, I wake up every day and just go like, I just need to be a little bit better of a version of myself today than I was yesterday.
Absolutely.
You know? And that's it. You know what I'm saying? I don't got to fucking cure cancer. I don't got to be a special forces, fucking did it all with all the ribbons and shit. I just got to be a little bit better than I was yesterday.
Yep.
You know?
And fear, that's a good point because fear is, it's like, it's the North Star for people that are trying to do better. I mean, it's breaking out of your comfort zones and you learn that every time you find a little bit of fear that that's something that you have to do. And it's like, fuck, because you know, you don't want to, you know, but you also know that if you do it, you know what it feels like on the other end and how rewarding it's going to be and how much benefit's going to come from it. And then it's just like, every time something scares you, it's like, fuck, here we go again. Cause you know, you're going down that path. There's no more choice anymore. Like when Mike Glover asked me to do a seminar, he's like, you going to do a book signing? Or do you want to do a book signing and a seminar? And I was like, well, I'm scared of the seminar. So that's what the